Negotiating. Part of conflict resolution is negotiating. There's a disagreement and we need to resolve it. So negotiating, a process in which two or more parties take offers, counter-offers, and concessions to reach an agreement. So basically that's what we're trying to do, reach an agreement. And there's kind of two things. There's distributed negotiation where any gain in one party is offset by an equivalent loss in the other. So we call that a zero-sum game. And so picture a group of people playing poker, right? They're playing cards and they have a certain amount of money's on the table. It's 5 guys and everybody brought $100. So there's $500 on the table. At the end of the night, how much money do people go away with? $500. To be sure, not everybody goes away with $100. Somebody goes away with $10, somebody goes away with $180 or whatever. So, but it's the same $500. It just gets passed around. That's distributive negotiation where my gain is your loss. What you want to do is not go that route, because then you end up fighting over the scraps. It's much better if you can figure out the bottom one here, a win-win negotiation in which an agreement involves no loss to either party. So we're going to solve this thing and we're both going to come out ahead. How are we going to do that? We need to find out what the other party values, find out what they want. That means we're going to have to talk to them. Much more importantly, we're going to have to listen. We have to get them talking and we have to listen. We have to find out what they want. Right? We have to find out what they want, because to get them to agree, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to give them something they want. Why would they agree if they don't get anything they want? So think about that. What is it they want? Maybe they want different things than we want. So I was at a company one time and we were going to talk to our suppliers. We're buying hardware for our products and we were going to try to get a lower price. So I talked to the guy and I said, so that sounds like distributed, right? Our win is their loss. For every dollar they give us is a dollar they give up, because their costs aren't going to change. So I talked to the guy at the company and I said, what would it take for you to lower the price? And he said, we have fixed costs on this. We can only lower the price so much. And okay, I understand, but I'm just asking hypothetical here. What could we do that would warrant lowering the price for us? So he said, not me demanding they lower the price, right? Setting up a conflict, setting up emotions, all of that, not that. So what could we do? And he said, well, we never know when you're going to order these, and we never know how many you're going to order, so we always have a setup cost. So we not only have the price of the item, but we have the setup cost. But if you were to order them in larger quantities, then we could give you a volume discount. Okay, that's useful to know, because our costs go down because we don't have to set up specially to run your job. Right? Thinking about when you making sandwiches at home. If you're making sandwiches for lunch, you have to get everything out of the refrigerator, right? Then you make sandwiches and you put them up, right? Whether you're making one sandwich or 5, it's the same amount of getting out and putting away. The act of making the sandwiches doesn't take that long. So it's like that. So he's saying if you would order, 20 sandwiches instead of 3 sandwiches, your sandwiches would be cheaper because there's less time in setup and tear down. Okay, very logical. So we go back and we look at our ordering process, how we get customer orders, can we inventory their parts and all that. Turns out the parts are small. It's not a very big deal for us to inventory them. We'd rather have the price savings. So if we order them in batches of 5 times the number of 5 times the size we order them now, they'll give us a 20% price discount. Boom, boom, boom. They save money, we save money. Everybody wins. That would be your win-win negotiating. Right? I didn't say you've got to lower the price. I said, what can we do? I put the burden on us. What can we do to cause you less work so you can lower the price for us? Right? And I didn't say you have to. I just asked. Right? Opening in a positive. We together are going to work together and come up with a better solution. Right? And this guy got to go back and tell his boss, hey, I'm a genius. I talk our customer into ordering larger quantities, larger lot sizes, so it makes it easier for our factory to fulfill the orders. Right? He can tell his boss anything he wants. I don't care as long as I get the lower price. He can claim it was his idea. I don't care. Right? Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me whether he gets the credit or not. All that matters to me is me getting the better price and not giving up. What I consider not giving up, we gave up a little bit, right? We got but we considered the little bit of inventory space we gave up was much more worth it, or very much worth it for the cost reduction we got, the price reduction. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it. So there's an example of win-win. You have to talk to the other side. You have to understand what they want. If you don't know what they want, you got to ask them some questions, and then you got to shut up and let them answer. Get them talking, right? See what it is they want to do. So in terms of some of the things we really need to focus on, we need to separate, again, relationships or people problems from substantive issues. So you hear this all the time in the Middle East negotiations. I hate you. I hate your people. We're going to wipe you out. They go back and forth. But we're really sick of killing each other. We're tired of our young men killing each other all the time. We need to come up with a solution. We need to get ourselves pulled apart here and get some peace because we're sick of people getting killed all the time, right? So that's the substantive issue, right? So when you think about negotiating with somebody, you think about, I don't like them. They make me mad. I don't feel good being in the room with them, right? Picture people from other countries that have been killing each other for decades, right? And if they can get in the room and talk it out, then you can get in the room and talk it out. All right, so again, number 2, focus on the interests, not positions. Negotiate about things people need, not what they said. You said this, or this is not a chance to right old wrongs. You got to forget that. That's happened. It's in the past. Okay, this is not a chance for that. We're going to move forward. The agreement is about what happens in the future. What happened in the past, we can't undo. Don't bring it up. You're probably just going to poison the conversation if you do. Start talking about things that have happened in the past, and who knows, right? That doesn't get anybody anywhere. Number 3, look for new solutions to the problems that allow both sides to win. There's my story with our supplier. What can we do differently? What can we change? I understand the way we work now, and here's the price. What can we change so you can change? Right? And I got a very, not such a bad answer, or a good answer out of it, and we were able to move forward. And had we not asked the question, we wouldn't have got the answer. If we went in swinging, you must lower the price, and with threats and all that around, maybe they lower the price, maybe they don't. Maybe they lower the price, but the first time they get a lot of work from another customer, they kick us out. So now we got to get a whole new vendor just because we try to bully these guys into lowering the price for us without giving them any reason to. And then sometimes you got to insist on outside objective fairness criteria. So, and whenever I buy a car, right, I go to Blue Book and I look up its value online and I have that in my pocket. Now, if his price is below that, I forget to pull it out, right? But if his price is above that, you better believe it. I got it printed out. I bring it right there. I show it to him, and that's where we start from, right? We don't end up there. We start from there in terms of negotiating. And that's perfectly okay. Same thing with housing value, right? Things we negotiate. It's okay for housing value. I strongly suggest you students do that when you're job searching, right? You should have job search data pulled up and with you on salaries for this particular job, cost of living for the location, things like that. There's a lot of things online. There's a number of books on salary negotiations. Keep in mind that women are less likely to negotiate salaries than men, so women who are watching this, you need to focus on that a little bit. You need to say, well, this job typically pays this for this much seniority like me, therefore and the way I tell people is, if they make you an offer and you think it's too low, don't reject it, because once you reject it, you can't unreject it. They can just pull it off. It's off the table at that point. They can remake it, but they cannot, or they don't have to. So I wouldn't say, oh, that offer's too low. I would come back with, well, the standard for that job on the market is this, and here's how I know that. Remember I talked about data decision-driven making, right? Then you pull out your computer or your printout and say, look, right here it is, according to salary.com and some other webpage. Here we go, right? And then they have to justify their lower salary. They're the ones defending their position, not you. You've got the literature, the citations, the research done it up, right? It's only your job, right? And remember, every year you get a raise, it builds on that number you get in your initial salary. So you need to do the homework. You need to know what you're getting into. You need to come in prepared, and shame on you if you don't. So that's my advice. You don't say, no, I don't like your offer. You would say something like, thanks for the offer. Here's what I was thinking. And I would show them other numbers. And then find out if there's room to negotiate or not. And maybe they say, no, we never negotiate. I would immediately say, okay, you don't negotiate on salaries. How about other things? How about negotiating in terms of vacation, or maybe I want tuition reimbursement to pay for my MBA, or I want more training in such and such a capability, right? Often they're not going to change their HR benefits just for you because it's just you, but maybe you can ask for special things like a training in this software or training in this skill set or something like that, right? Depends what's important to you. So there's some things to think about in salary negotiations. Oh, by the way, if they ask you how much salary you're looking for, don't give them an answer. The thought there is whoever blinks first loses, so they're going to say, what are you thinking? in terms of salary? What kind of offer are you looking for? And you say, well, I was thinking $60,000. Well, if they were going to offer you 65, too bad, now they offer 60. If they were going to offer you 55, they might not offer you anything at all because, I was going to offer 55, but they wanted 60. They asked for 60, maybe they probably won't go for 55, so why bother? Why bother getting the paperwork filled out, having a bunch of managers sign it, all that? We'll just pass on this person. The point is, both answers are wrong. Whether you're high or whether you're low, you're wrong. So basically you're wrong no matter what you say. So don't say anything. So it's much better to say, this job, this much experience, and this type of work, blah, blah, blah. I pulled this information from a couple reliable sources, and they say the ranges for this job pays 55 to 65,000, so I was thinking somewhere in there. Right? And I just look them right in the eye and say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm working on my MBA, so I would expect I would think maybe towards the high end of that range. Don't give them a number, talk about ranges. Right? I would look at it from that standpoint. And typically, that way they have wiggle room too. You have wiggle room, they have wiggle room. Nobody said anything they can't take back, but they got a reasonable feel for your expectation, but you haven't given them a number because the number you give them will be wrong, right? Either too high or too low. So I like that approach. I think that's a pretty smart way to go. A few more tips for effective negotiations. Make sure you know the other's interest and perception. So if you have something you can't do without, I would tell them that. Say, there's no giving in, I gotta have this. I cannot go back to my sponsors without this thing. We can talk about how you give it to me, but I got to have that. So again, identify what you can and cannot part with. We can talk about this other thing. We cannot talk about this. I got to have it. Identify and use sources of leverage. What gives you leverage? Is time on your side? Is money on your side? Is knowledge on your side? Right? You have knowledge of this. Maybe they own something that's causing them money, and that's going to struggle. They're going to struggle with that, and so time is on your side because they're every month they own this building and they have to pay taxes on it and they're bleeding, and so you're like, well, I'm not really in a big rush here, so you can kind of take that approach to it. All right, we're going to stop and we'll come back and finish this section.